Well, everybody, thanks for joining us tonight. We're being streamed live onto Facebook. It's just bringing it up right now. If you just joined us, thanks for coming. And if you're watching this video, thank the person for getting it to you. And we'll get started here in just a little bit. So there we go. Hey, Carmel, welcome to the call. I guess you're going to be giving a testimonial as well. So I'm going to bring you over here to the panel. So how are things out in Michigan, Andrea?
Hot. They're hot, Doc.
Here too, we had 95 degrees today.
Whoa, you can keep that.
Yeah. Good morning, Carmel. How are things down in Australia tomorrow?
Oh, today is a beautiful sunny day today, which is really nice. We've had a few lovely days, actually.
Okay. We're getting a thunderstorm right now. We're supposed to be getting hail. Supposed to be getting like an inch around hail.
Hail.
Probably why we're on the call. We'll have hail hitting the house. Yeah.
Wow. So we might hear it.
You might see it. I'll point the computer toward the window. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Do you guys get hail down in Australia?
We had a big hailstorm about 2 weeks ago, even in Byron Bay, which never gets hail, but it was huge. It was just a random freak event. And yeah, it was really thick and did a lot of damage.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Big hail as well.
Yeah. Well, we've been getting a lot of storms up here this summer. So how about over in Michigan? You guys been getting some bad weather or just hot?
It didn't rain the whole month of June, so I just figured it wasn't going to rain. So I bought a couch to stick in my yard.
Is this one of these swing ones you're sitting in, Andrea?
Oh, this is like a wicker egg chair that I bought. Yeah, for my new porch.
That's not one that swings.
No,
Yeah.
Looks lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah, Andrea is quite the handy woman, handy person.
Finally getting my porch done.
Yeah, she's really redone everything around your house there.
Pretty much, a few times over.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. You do it once and you go, oh, I could have done it this way, and then you go back and redo it.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you get tired of it. So
Elizabeth Anderson. Didn't she have a good testimony on the age bill? I'm trying to think. Elizabeth, raise your hand if you had a testimonial on the age bill, if you'd like to get on tonight and share that. I'm just looking over in the audience. Okay. Do you want to share that? Perfect. I'm going to bring you over to the panel, if you don't mind.
Yay.
I brought you over here. You should be transferring. Maybe. Elizabeth, if you unmute yourself, there you go. Did you have a testimonial on the age bill that you wanted to share?
Well, I can share, it's just general, I feel great, and that's,
Okay. Well, I can't get you to transfer over to the panel. So after we're done with Carmel and Andrea, why don't I just go over and I'll unmute you, and then we can bring you on, and if you want to share your story.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
I'll do that. I'll run and do my hair.
Okay. I don't know why it won't let me bring her over to the panel. Maybe it'll do it now. We're waiting for Katie to show up and a few other people. So,
great.
Kurt, I was saying to Katie when she asked me if I would give mine, I said I would probably do better if you ask questions along the way, in case I get tongue-tied.
Okay. Well, if
somebody asks me questions along the way, I will do better.
Okay, we can do that. And there's Ian. Welcome to the call, Ian. Andrea, you've been on a call with me for a while because we quit doing the doctor's clinic calls. It just seemed like we were covering the same topics over and over and over again. So I was like, well, let's just discontinue them for a while and see what happens. And
right.
that was that almost a year ago? Not quite.
Not quite. No. But, you know, I might have to check out early. It's my job to go close up the chicken coop tonight.
The chicken coop. You have chickens?
I don't, my daughter does. I have to go close it up so the raccoons don't kill them.
Oh, okay.
They're
Yeah.
on camping, so
There. Oh, you're over at your daughter's right now?
no, but I have to go there.
Okay. Okay.
They're all gone. They went camping, so
They went camping.
I'm in
Okay.
charge of the chickens.
All right. The chickens. Yeah. Well, we're just about to the top of the hour here. And, you know, for those of you that have joined us on Facebook, thanks for coming. For those of you that are jumping on the call live, thanks for being here. Elizabeth, Ian, Carmel, Andrea, and Katie soon, but I don't know. She's not here when it starts. We're going to get started. And for those of you that are listening to the call on the recording, thanks for taking the time. It's about, you know, we try and keep it right around a half an hour or something like that. So, you know, sometimes they go overtime a little bit. So, well, welcome. We'll get started. We'll get the call started. I know, Andrea, you have things you have to do, and Carmel, I know you probably do down there in Australia as well. You know, so my name is Dr. Kurt Fisnick, and thanks for joining us. It's Friday night up here in North Dakota where I'm at, and it's about an hour later where Andrea is over in Michigan, and it's tomorrow morning down in Australia where Carmel is. And so welcome to the call. If you're listening to the recording, thanks for taking the time to jump on with us. Thanks for taking the time to listen to the call. We've been talking for the last month or so about the age pill. 5 years ago in July of 2017, the age pill was introduced to the world. About that same time, there was a lot of science coming out of Harvard. And they had discovered, and actually it was science that had been discovered a while before that, but they were really had started working on it again because they realized that it was so important because precursors in your body that go to work and make you help your body so you can make NAD plus, which is it's energy. It's pure energy for your body, and you can't take NAD plus. But your body can make it. So you take the active ingredients and then your body puts it together. Well, scientists at Harvard were getting paid a lot of money. And we can't mention the name because they don't like us to mention his name. But anyhow, he was getting paid an awful lot of money to go out and help develop a manipulated molecule. That's really what his goal was. That's what the science was, is that, and I don't know if they've discovered it yet or if they even come close to it, but they want to have a man-made molecule that makes NAD plus. And obviously, you know, Andrea, you and I have talked a lot in the doctor's clinics calls about, you know, why do they want to have man-made molecules versus natural? I mean, would you want to answer that quickly?
Yeah, well, I assume to make money.
Bingo. You make
Bingo.
money. Yeah. You can't sell what God made. The natural products aren't sellable. You can't patent it. But if you manipulate something else and you make it so that it's a man-made molecule, now you can put a patent on it and you can make an awful lot of money. And so that's what they're trying to do. And I don't know if they've succeeded yet. I haven't read about it on the news or anything like that. But that's 5 years ago. That's when all that science hit the waves. And I started actually taking the precursors, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And Andrea remembers when I started doing that because I was talking about. But then Tom called me up one day in May of 2017, and he said, "You're not going to believe what I've been working on." and I said, "I bet it's an NAD precursor product." And he did just silence. There was crickets on the phone. And he said, "How'd you know that?" And I said, "Well, I've already been taking some." And you know, and Carmel, you're smiling because you've heard me say this story before. And he said, Tom says to me, "Well, how much are you taking of this and how much are you taking of that?" And I told him, and he said, "Well, you need to be taking about 5 times that amount in order to get results." And so you see, I was taking what was actually in the science. I was taking what was in the science. I was taking their recommended dosage, and all other products on the market are based on that science. Well, Tom discovered that in order to have the therapeutic dosage, you had to have 5 times that amount. And if you take a look at the ingredients on the age pill, it's actually more than that. And so we get a good helping, a good serving to get our body so it can do what it can do. But so Andrea and I were talking one day, and Andrea remembers really well 2017, July of 2017. She had joined me in Sisel a couple months before that, but really your business wasn't really getting off the ground. It really wasn't doing a whole heck of a lot. And then when the age pill got introduced, I'm going to hand it over to you. I don't want to tell your story. I'm going to hand it over to you and let you tell what happened to your business, but what happened to you as well, as far as your personal testimonial.
Okay, great. I actually joined December 2016 with you. And so for about 5 months, I was just taking the supplements myself. I wasn't really actively working the business or anything. But in the background, I was listening to every Tom Mower video I could find on the internet because I like to be informed, and I just enjoyed learning all of the information he was sharing. And so I came to know Tom as being, a really good guy, a guy who cared about people, cared about what he was doing, and he was very passionate about what he was doing. And so I'm thinking, yeah, he's, I'm really like trusting him and everything. And so I think it was April or May, he went on Facebook and he said, what if you could take a pill and be like you're 20? And I just went, what? Like, all this time, like I've just been believing in this guy, and now he's coming out with this crazy thing, like, what is he talking about? Well, then he happened to mention age pill in there. So I immediately went to the internet and I started putting in age pill, and it was associated with MIT, associated with the guy that you don't want to mention his name and all of that. So I spent about 2 weeks reading everything I could on it, not reading it, but listening to videos on it. And am I back? Somebody was trying to call me. I acquired a lot of information in those 2 weeks, and then you called me and you said, hey, Andrea, Tom's coming out with this new thing and it does this. And I went, I know. And you said, and then it does this. And I go, I know. And you kept telling me what it did. And I kept going, I know. And I was super excited about it. Just probably because of my age, I was like, okay, we got to do something here. And, it gave me hope. It really did. I was like, this is it. This is great, And because I got so excited about it, I decided to start sharing it with my friends, even though we didn't have it yet. So I set up a group on Facebook, and I started putting all the science I was finding in that group for them to see, and all the videos I found, which wasn't a whole lot back then because it was like brand new, right? And then Tom did a call. Well, I invited a bunch of people into that group to watch the information, and I put videos in there about Sisel, the manufacturing plant, because that's impressive, just so they'd know it was a good upstanding company. And so people were getting excited about this age pill thing. And then Tom came out and did about an hour-and-a-half long Zoom one night about it, talking about the science and everything behind it. And I had people calling me all evening going, that man is so smart. This is so awesome. I can't wait to get some, and they were all like just wanting it as badly as I did. And it kept getting delayed because Tom was always like, yep, it's ready to go, and then the legal department was saying, nope, it's not, different things like that. So it took another 6 weeks before it actually came out from when I was, like really promoting it to my friends, and they were all still eagerly awaiting that. And so the night it came out, I ended up having, it was like a little bit of a different comp plan back then. And when you had 250 points in an order, you got a free bottle of Fucoidin. And so I had all these couples who wanted to do a double dose of age pill, because Tom was sharing that that's what you do in the beginning, you know, to clean out your cells and get them functioning right and everything. And so all these couples wanted double dose. So they all wanted 4 bottles of age pill. And then I'd say to them, well, you know, if you get one more just for when you run out to keep you going, you get that free bottle of Fucoidan. And I had talked to them about Fucoidan. I actually put a video in that group about Fucoidan so they knew what it was about. And so a whole bunch of them just went ahead and ordered 1 extra bottle. So I sold a bunch. And I think in July, it came out, I don't remember, like maybe there were 10 days of July left or something. I moved $2,500 worth of age pill. And
Wow.
it was, everybody was still excited, you know, and couldn't wait to get it. And I got mine and started doing a double dose. And I remember it was, and about day 5, I woke up and, you know, stretched my arms over my head and looked at my arms and went, what? Like it had totally changed my skin. And, you know, that's the first thing to get regenerated on the body. So it totally had softened it, made it look younger. And I started looking at my hands. I'm like, what? You know? And then about day 8, I was with my daughter sitting in a parking lot at Home Depot. She was doing something on her phone and I was setting up some pay system in my phone. Well, let's go back a step. For the last 3 to 4 years, I had horrible memory loss. Horrible. Like if I were to get on a conference call and I had to put 5 digits in, I'd have to write them down because I couldn't go 60528 and dial the number and wait for it to ring and then put in 60528. I would forget it. I would go 65. Oh, what was that? I have to go back and look. So I always had to do that. If I was, you know, I build a lot of things. So if I was measuring something, I would, you know, walk to the saw, totally forget what the measurement was. One measurement, couldn't remember, 34 and a half, you know, and it was bad. It was really bad. And I was thinking, you know, before the age pill, I was thinking, wow, I'm not that old. What's it going to be like 20 years from now? Like, I can't even remember anything, you know, and I tell my kids, they'd say, do you remember I told you blah, blah, blah. And I say, no, don't remember it. If it didn't happen today, I didn't remember it, you know? Well, on day 8, I put this 10-digit number into a system that I just like read it in my mind and put it in there. And my jaw dropped. And I said, oh my gosh, Amber, you wouldn't believe what I just did. And she's like, what'd you do? And I told her, and she's, really, Mom, that's great. You know, like, and I called you up and I said, come on now. There is no way that this did anything for my brain in just 8 days. And you said, well, you must have had glycation in the brain, blocking up some of those synapses, and it cleaned it out. And to this day, Doc, 5 years later, I am so thankful about that, just that one part of this, because I recognize all the time that I can think better now than I could 5.5 years ago.
Wow.
All
I
the
remember.
time.
I remember when you told me that. And then didn't you also show me like some pinch test that you were doing on your skin?
No, I had like the veins.
The elasticity or something?
It was the veins in my hands. They all flattened out. They were raised up, and they like, that was about, well, 4 months in, like a friend of my daughter's, so she's 20 some years younger than me, was saying that her veins were bad. She was going to go get them stripped. And so I contacted her and said, hey, before you do that, like, why don't you try this product? It's a lot safer than doing that. And she's like, oh, no, I already have the appointment. And I happened to look at my veins on my hands that day and I went, what? Like they were all laying down flat. And I was like, what? And that was the second thing I noticed, I think. And other than, you know, scars lightening up and just generally looking better, like I can remember being in Palm Springs, California with my daughter, looking in the mirror one time about 18 months, you know, into taking age pill and going, holy crap, girl, you look good. You know, I snapped a picture because seriously, I was very depressed about how I looked before the H pill ever happened. And so the other thing that happened with me is I'd had like neuropathy or nerve pain up and down in the bottom part of my legs. And it didn't bother me too much when I was moving around, but when I got in bed at night, it really bothered me. And about 4 months in, that disappeared. And then I had a large pain around my ankle bone where a podiatrist had told me that there is a big nerve there. So I figured I had nerve damage there. And one day I was going, okay, I got rid of the other. I got this happened, that happened, you know, all these wonderful things happened. And I said, wonder when I'm going to get rid of that pain around my ankle. And about 2 weeks later, all of a sudden I recognized that it was no longer there and I got rid of it. So
All right.
yeah, it was amazing.
Pretty cool. What do you think, Carmel? I mean, if you weren't taking the H pill, do you think based on what Andrea just said, you might try it?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. I'd never thought much about veins, actually. I didn't realize that when veins stick out like that, that it was because, you know, it wasn't flowing properly and that sort of thing. But I actually went on it because of pain. You know my story. And I had been to a lot of different health practitioners and several doctors for pain management. And this was over a 5-year period from after I broke my back. And I was 12 months on endone. And at the end of that 12 months, the doctor couldn't give me any more, but she put me onto other pain medication. So I was taking a lot, but it got to the point where I'd be due, I'd need more pain medication, but I wasn't due to have any more for another 2 hours. And it sort of worried me because I thought I'm still in a lot of pain, but I can't take more. And I started to become worried that I was becoming addicted to pain medication because I just couldn't get it under control. So, and then of course that becomes very depressing because, you know, you can't function properly and you can't meet with people. And I felt too young to be feeling this old. And it wasn't until I actually went to your seminar when you were doing a tour around Australia that I went up to Brisbane and listened to you. And I was just totally blown away with what I heard. And I met with Marsha there and I had coffee with her and explained to her my symptoms, and she told me what she had gone through. So she put me onto a gut protocol, which included the H pill as well. And it didn't take me long once I started on Sisel that I was able to come off my pain medication. I was able to come off my antidepressants. And I felt when I first started taking them that it was like, to me, it felt quite magical because I felt that something changed inside me. And I felt really happy because I felt that I was finally onto something that was going to help me feel better. And it did. And I was just so pleased that I did it. And I started off taking just the recommended dose on the bottle, you know, 3 in the morning, 3 at night. And as I started to learn more about it, I heard that people my age should be taking 8 pills. So I increased it there. And then later on, I heard about the double dosing. So I did that. And the more I took, the better I felt. And since this challenge has been going on, I've actually increased it again. So I'm now taking 6 pills 3 times a day.
3 times a day.
Yeah, because I heard you talking about some of your patients you've had where you've actually given them like 4 times the amount on the bottle. And when I heard Tom Sr. talking about why we needed to double dose, I thought, and he was saying that he would like to take 6 pills 3 times a day too, but I think his work schedule or something stopped him from doing that. So I thought, oh, I'm going to do this. I was a bit scared to start with because I do get the niacin flush, but I like that feel. It makes me feel like something's happening, even though I knew things were happening anyway, but to actually physically feel it in my face and that, I don't know. I liked it, but I was scared to take 6 because I thought the flush might be too strong. Yeah, but it wasn't. So I've started doing that now. But what I have noticed with the difference is, like initially it was for pain. Pain was my main only reason, really. I really needed to get rid of this pain because I just thought I'm too young to be living like an old person. I think I was about 60 when I first started taking it, and I'm nearly 65 now. And even though my pain has all gone, it's totally all gone, but I've still got some aches in the hips. It doesn't worry me so much, but it's not like the pain. The pain was the worst I had, and it was very, very depressing because I was having panic attacks and anxiety. Like I used to be a school teacher, and I went on medical retirement for anxiety and depression 20 years ago, 2002, actually. So I've been predispositioned for that sort of thing. And since then, I've had a few traumas in my life as well, and which set me back. So each time I try to get on top of my health, I'd slip back a bit. But I think when I broke my back and then had the fire after that, I could feel like witnessing the fire, that sort of increased the pain in my body so much more as well. And I've since learned, you know, what trauma does to your body, you know, when you're going through this as well, and why the pain increases. So yeah, I'm just so happy that it was introduced to me, and I just love taking it so much. And I might not take 6 3 times a day forever, but I just wanted to give it a try. But I'll definitely always be on 8 a day.
Good. Well, I remember your story. I remember when you first came to that seminar that I was at when I was in Brisbane, and you know, and you're like, you didn't know if it really would help you. And I remember you were pretty crippled up because of your back at the time. And then when you started taking the double dose, I remember you calling me up and telling me how much better you felt. So crazy.
Yeah.
Yay.
I had trouble walking. You know, it wasn't just the pain, but I had trouble walking in those days as well. And like every step for me was a big effort.
Yeah.
And it made me not want to walk with people because I just couldn't keep up their pace. I had trouble walking every step. But today, I actually climbed up on a chair to put my piece of artwork on the wall. And a few years ago, I could not get up on a chair. Even walking up a step was really hard. Walking up, you know, the sand dunes at the beach, I was struggling. But now I can do it. I can do it all again, and I do feel like, yeah, it is. It's age reversal. It's the best.
Isn't that great to be 65 years old and feel like you're 5 years young? Feel like you did, I mean, 20 years ago. Get rid of that pain. Yeah.
As long as I just keep getting better as I get older, that's the main thing for me. You know, I love it. I love the journey.
Well, let's reach out to Elizabeth. I'm going to unmute Elizabeth, and I probably don't remember your whole story, Elizabeth, but if you want to unmute, if you want to hit your unmute button, I think
I'm here.
There you go. Yeah, I can't bring you over to the panel if for some reason the computer's not allowing me to do that. But Elizabeth, tell us a little bit about what's going on and what's your story with the age pill. And you know, and like I said, I'm this is kind of just a sudden surprise, bring you on type of a thing. So.
Hello, everyone. Well, I'll just start with this. In 1993, we actually joined with the Tom Mower's original company. And of course, we're great believers in that and continued using the products right through until Sisel came onto the scene. And of course, I had to join because I knew what I was joining was going to be good. And it has certainly proved that for me and our family. The age pill, I just couldn't wait for that to be available. There was a lot of publicity about it, of course, before it was actually released in Australia, and I was just hanging out for it. And so basically for the last, I don't know I really cannot remember what year it was, and I'm sorry, I should have looked that up, but I've been taking it pretty regularly ever since it was launched in Australia, and really, I am just amazed at what it's done for me. I'm particularly healthy. I don't take any medication whatsoever apart from Sisel products. And for me, for my age, and I'll let you in a secret, seem to be 74. I think I'm doing pretty amazing, actually, not to have any, doctor's medication, and no aches or pains, and energy to burn. So, to me, I just can't speak highly enough about the Sisel range anyway, let alone the age pill. I think it's amazing. Yeah, so that's my story. I can't sort of tell you any negative about my health because I just haven't got any problems. So I guess that's the best testimony I can give, isn't it?
All right. Well, thanks, Elizabeth, for jumping on. I looked at your name and I thought I'd heard you tell your story before, so I appreciate you jumping on kind of spur of the moment, without having prepared your story or anything for us. Thank you.
Well, that's my story. I'm just so happy with what we've found, and it's just been amazing for us.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing. And, Carmel, thanks for sharing your story. And Andrea, thanks for sharing your story. And it's a lot of fun to hear this. And like I tell people, I say, why not give it a try? So many people, they say, well, what if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't do anything for me? The question you have to ask yourself, what if it does? What if it does? What if it does work? What if it gets rid of your pain like it did for Carmel? What if it makes it so you don't have to take any medications like Elizabeth? Or what if it gives you your memory back like Andrea? That's pretty powerful. What if it does those things? And I know we were gonna do kind of a testimonial. We were gonna talk about some animals that are taking the product, but I think what we'll do is we'll share that for next week, so we keep the call down to about a half hour. It's a little bit short, by about 4 minutes. We'll just cut it off at that. But folks, thanks for jumping on and listening. Thanks for sharing your story and being with us every week. And Carmel, Andrea, thanks for being live. Elizabeth, thanks for jumping on and sharing your story. I really appreciate it. And get out there and share this with people. Let them know that there's a product like this out there. Let them know that you don't have to wait for the drug version of it. You don't have to wait for the patented version to come out of Harvard. You can do this right now. It's all natural. And it's not that bad. The price isn't that bad. For what a lot of people spend on a cup of coffee a day, you can more than treat yourself with this. So again, thanks everyone. Thanks for being with us. And we'll be back next Saturday down in Australia. And let's have a great week. And I look forward to hearing more stories next week. Thanks everyone.